Welcome to Factual America, the channel where facts take center stage and the stories that shape our nation get the spotlight they deserve. Today, we're digging into one of the most controversial and pressing questions facing America. Who really benefits from endless foreign wars? Politicians stand at podiums talking about national security. Media headlines scream about threats overseas. Young Americans put on uniforms and ship out, sometimes never to return. But behind the flag-waving and solemn speeches, something much bigger and more insidious may be at work. Buckle up, because what you're about to hear might just change how you see America's place in the world and who is pulling the strings. Let's start with the basic question every American should ask. Why are we so often at war at all? Since the end of World War II, the United States has been involved in military actions or conflicts in over 80 countries. Korea, Vietnam, the Middle East, Afghanistan, and a dozen more spots on the globe. If you're under 80 years old, you've grown up under a government that always seems to be fighting somewhere. The narrative we're given is usually about freedom, democracy, or fighting terror. But dig a little deeper, and the answer gets complicated and disturbing. When a new war breaks out, politicians from both sides of the aisle beat the drums, calling it a matter of national survival. They use patriotic language designed to hit us in the gut, evoking September 11th, Pearl Harbor, or the threat of weapons of mass destruction. But pause for a second. Who actually benefits when the body bags return? It isn't the average American who's losing sons and daughters. The answer, more often than not, is found in boardrooms, not battlefields. Let's pull back the curtain on what President Dwight Eisenhower warned us about in his farewell address. The military-industrial complex. This is the web of defense contractors, lobbyists, think tanks, and bureaucratic insiders who profit, big time, every time a new conflict erupts. The companies that manufacture planes, tanks, missiles, drones, and all the hundreds of other products of war grow richer with each passing year. And it's not just weapons. It's everything from food rations to high-tech surveillance gear. Take a look at the numbers. According to the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, U.S. military spending reached $877 billion in 2022, nearly 40% of global military expenditure. In fact, the five biggest defense contractors, Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, Boeing, Northrop Grumman, and General Dynamics, brought in over $200 billion from government contracts. It's a gravy train that doesn't stop, and it runs on your tax dollars. But these aren't just companies making widgets. They employ armies of well-connected lobbyists. In 2020 alone, defense companies spent around $100 million on lobbying. This buys them access, influence, and, time and again, contracts. The infamous revolving door between government and industry ensures that lawmakers and generals retiring from government service can expect a cushy job at the very firms they once oversaw. How can you trust government decisions on war and peace when so many decision makers stand to profit from an intervention? Now, it would be easy to think that only Republicans or only Democrats are guilty here. But look closely, and you'll see both parties knee-deep in the same swamp. During the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, no matter who sat in the White House, defense spending kept rising and the contracts kept flowing. Politicians love to talk tough about security, but rarely do they talk about accountability, unless a scandal blows up in the press. Why? Because those campaign donations keep rolling in. But it isn't just the military-industrial complex. There's another set of beneficiaries: global bureaucrats, NGOs, and international organizations. Every time America launches nation-building overseas, billions of dollars flow to consultants and nonprofits promising to rebuild schools, train police, or set up free elections. Often, this so-called aid vanishes into bureaucracy or ends up in the pockets of corrupt foreign officials. The primary winners are the organizations themselves and their connected elites, not everyday people, American or foreign. And let's not forget Wall Street. War creates chaos, and chaos fuels speculation. Energy prices spike, defense stocks soar, private security firms get lucrative contracts, and rebuilding opens the door for multinational corporations. Wall Street analysts track wars the way chess masters follow a board for profit opportunities. When was the last time you saw a defense industry crash in wartime? Now, you might be asking, what about the media? Isn't their job to hold the powerful accountable? In theory, yes. In reality, much of the mainstream media stands to benefit as well, especially during wartime. Wars mean higher ratings, bigger clicks, and more advertising. Sensationalism sells, and tragic images from combat zones become the content that feeds the news cycle. Some networks even employ former generals or intelligence officials as paid commentators, rarely acknowledging that they sit on the boards of defense contractors. It's easy to lose sight of the human cost amid all this profit. In the last 20 years alone, tens of thousands of American soldiers have been killed or wounded in action. Millions of civilians, men, women, and children across the Middle East, Africa, and Asia have died or lost their homes. Families are shattered, societies destabilized, and refugee crises ripple across continents. The average American family pays for these wars not only in taxes, but in lost loved ones, insecurity, and opportunities foregone. And yet somehow, after each new war, the same explanations get recycled. We were misled. We had bad intelligence. Mistakes were made. But no one at the top ever seems to be held accountable while the war machine keeps rolling. Let's get specific. The 2003 invasion of Iraq. Most Americans now agree it was a disaster, based on faulty intelligence about weapons of mass destruction. Who paid the price? 4,500 dead American service members, hundreds of thousands of Iraqi civilians, trillions in taxpayer money gone. But the defense companies, their profits soared. Many of the architects of the war later landed lucrative jobs in the private sector or cable TV. Even Afghanistan, America's longest war, ended the same way. 2 decades, thousands of lives, $2 trillion spent. The Taliban, whom we'd driven out in 2001, were back in charge by 2021. Yet in those 20 years, arms dealers, logistics firms, and hundreds of consultants and contractors extracted billions in profit. Meanwhile, the American people gained little but heartbreak, lost trust, and a national debt that keeps climbing. Could things have been different? What if America had focused on strategic interests, invested at home, and remained strong and sovereign? Instead, the established order, the war machine, keeps selling the myth that American security depends on being everywhere, fighting endless battles, spilling blood and treasure for causes that, in the end, often serve only the elite. Here's a twist. While the average American is sold on the need for constant vigilance and sacrifice, the children of Ivy League graduates, prominent media figures, and tech billionaires aren't the ones typically fighting. According to Pentagon statistics, those who enlist in the armed forces disproportionately come from rural communities and working-class families. The burden falls on those with the least say in foreign policy, while the profits flow uphill. But maybe the most alarming twist is this. Perpetual war weakens the very country it claims to protect. Ballooning debt, veteran homelessness, traumatized communities, and a distracted nation. Meanwhile, competitors like China and other adversaries invest increasingly in their own economies, education, and infrastructure, while America bleeds resources on lost causes. Critics might say, we live in a dangerous world. Someone has to keep the peace. True, but is our current course making America safer? Or is it making elites richer while leaving regular Americans to pick up the pieces? Even senior Pentagon officials, like former Defense Secretary Robert Gates, have admitted that too often wars are started with no clear definition of victory and no endgame in sight. So what can actually be done? First, demand more transparency. When politicians stand before the cameras arguing for intervention, insist on knowing who profits, who pays, and what the real objectives are. Second, hold the media accountable. Demand independent journalism, not recycled talking points from defense insiders. Third, remember that sovereignty begins at home. Secure borders, thriving families, and a healthy economy matter more than foreign adventures. It won't be easy. The establishment has built a fortress of influence and incentives to keep the war machine humming. But the tide can turn if enough Americans ask tough questions, shed the manufactured fear, and insist that government work for the people, not just well-connected interests in Washington and Wall Street. At the end of the day, America's strength was built on defending our liberty, not waging endless, unwinnable wars. The true beneficiaries of perpetual conflict are neither the troops nor the taxpayers. They are the insulated elite who count profits and influence in quiet offices, far from the front lines. So what do you think? Who really benefits from endless foreign wars? Have we been sold out by Washington insiders and corporate profiteers? Or is there something deeper going on? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want Factual America to dig even deeper and shine the honest light on the untold stories, Tell us what topics you want us to cover next. Thanks for watching Factual America. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video to help us spread facts that matter. Until next time, stay informed, stay vigilant, and keep fighting for the truth.